Hello, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and wherever you are in this wide, wonderful, beautiful world, you are very welcome to the Global Sales Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cooper. I'm a lifelong student of human behavior, neuroscience, performance, sales, and leadership. But I'm absolutely fascinated by how people do what they do. I'm always intrigued. That's why I invite these wonderful guests, like my guest today, sitting on my left hand side. I'll introduce him in a few moments. This podcast is about stepping away from the fluff nonsense that is out there and getting into the real conversations that actually moves the needle. And this is the space for people who want to think better, sell better, lead better. No hacks, no gimmicks, no magic scripts, no AI. We are real people here, and we will be having real conversations behind everything that we do. So I want everyone to feed forward, meaning sharing insights and knowledge so everyone can learn and grow about what we are going to be speaking about, because my guest today is someone who's fundamentally, even if I can speak properly, fundamentally shaped how the world understands why people buy, not through pressure, but through value, trust, and service. Bob Berg joins me today. You are very welcome.
Jason, hello. It's so great to be with you.
I'm so excited to have this. I'm just going to read a little bit about you, but then I'll let you fill in some of the gaps. Um, the go-giver way, what a little bit about is the give exceptional value, enjoy extraordinary results. It is generally agreed upon that entrepreneurship is the engine that drives an economy upwards and is primarily responsible for its growth. I love that. I nicked that out of your website as an introduction. So you're the co-author. You're the author and the co-author of The Go Giver, a much sought after speaker at sales leadership conferences, and committed to inspiring entrepreneurial spirit in all of us, and the way to value and to give back. I think, as I said yesterday on a live, is yin yang, and what you give out to the world, you will receive in some other shape or form. That's some of the part I got out of. If you give, you're going to receive in some other way. So I'm always curious, how did you come up with the Go Giver? Well, where did that inspiration come from?
So many years ago, this is back in the 90s, my first book was called Endless Referrals. The subtitle was Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. And it was basically a guidebook for entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had a great product or service. They knew it brought lots of value to those they served, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable or confident going out into their local communities and developing the kinds of relationships that would cause people to want to do business with them directly and or refer them to others. So it was really a step-by-step guide so that people could do so confidently, and really the way to do it was to find ways to serve others, find ways to bring value to the lives of others. The basic premise was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people
Absolutely.
they know, like, and trust. So this was how to develop those know, like, and trust feelings toward you from others. But it was a how-to book, and I'd always, since I'd been in sales, I loved reading business parables. Parables are stories, right? And we know stories connect on a deeper level and
Yeah.
so forth. And but I'm not a parable writer, so I'm a how-to writer. So I just kind of sat on the idea for a while. But, I'd always thought, one day I'd love to take the basic premise and turn it into a parable. Well, fortunately, in the early 2000s, I was writing a column for a magazine, and John David Mann was the co-author. And while John didn't have the profile he has now, he was still very known within his niche regarding his absolute brilliance as a writer. And he's also a very high character human being. He's very humble. At a certain point, I just said, this is the guy I want to do this with. And so I just approached him with the idea, and and it was not a very well formulated idea. It was really just the idea. But he tells the story that even back then he was very busy. So he said to his back then fiance, now his wife Anna, he said, I really don't have time to do this, but it's Bob. How do I just say no without at least checking it out? And again, that's where the relationship comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
Not had that know, like, and trust relationship, it never would have gotten past that. So one day, he and Anna were visiting her mom on the west coast of Florida, near Tampa, where I believe you lived for a while,
Yeah.
and they took a 4-hour drive over to where I live in Jupiter,
Wow.
Florida, northern suburb of West Palm Beach. And we had about a 3-hour dinner discussing the idea of the book and what it would entail and the expectations and so forth. It was still another 3 weeks before he called me back and said, Anna and I have talked it over. Yeah, let's do this. And I'm thinking, yes, this is great, because I knew he could work magic with this. He's so brilliant. But here's the thing. We probably wrote the book in 3 months. It took us, through our agent, it took us a year and 24 rejections by New York publishing houses before the 25th one said yes. So, you think about it, it's still all sales, isn't it? You've still got to be able to communicate appropriate value to those who you want to work with.
And it's probably a slightly harder and a little bit more challenging then, with the emails were probably snail mails then, and you had really bad broadband, so you probably had to meet in person or by the phone. So it's slightly, the communication process is not as simple as it was in the 90s as it is now. Like, it's really instant.
Well, this by the time we had we started writing the book, I think it was in 2003, and by the time it got all said and done, there was still, email was more prevalent, but our agent she took the manuscript and she took it to the publishers.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was in person, and she was great with that. I mean, she had all these wonderful connections. She had been the agent for Dr. Ken Blanchard and Dr. Spencer Johnson with their 1 Minute Manager series and a bunch of others. So she had real gravitas. And the nice thing, the most fantastic thing, was that she had such a great way of getting feedback from the different publishing houses, so she could share with John and me why they said no. And John and I just made the decision where our egos were going to be kept out of it.
Yep.
And we're going to listen to the suggestions, the feedback. Now, we knew some was going to be, we just don't like the book, or we don't want to do a parable, or But then there were those that they had some good comments. But what happened was, and this I think goes so much as to what really sales is, being able to know your customers and to be able to know what they need. I think it was like the 21st or the 20th, I think it was the 21st one, who said to her, we don't think they have a big enough platform for the book to sell. Now, in the publishing world, as you know, Jason, when a publisher says platform, what they mean is, how many people already know them so well that they're going to buy the book? Because that's what publishers, that's their business, selling books.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But here's the thing. Between John and myself, we knew we had a big platform, right? And I mean, he had interviewed, some of the top thought leaders, CEOs, influencers in the world. And as a speaker, I got to meet a lot of these, we had a big platform. But here's the thing. We obviously did not communicate that. Okay? So we went back to the drawing board, invested a bunch of money and a bunch of time in putting together a new demo video for her to take to the publishers, so that they would now, and then it was just, I think 21, 22, 3 publishers later accepted us. And that was probably a big reason, because they knew we had a platform. We were able to communicate that. So there's so many lessons just in that.
What was the biggest lesson that you learned out there? Because that's really valuable, and that's a really valuable insight today. Because things that platforms now is YouTube, platforms is now TikTok, and all of those other platforms, which are slightly easier to get a reach. But back in the 90s, you have to have a different form of platform. What was the biggest lesson that you can actually say to someone today and go, this is one of the things that we learned from failure to success, and then we gravitated towards that? We got DVDs, or you got
Well, I think it goes to show that when it comes to any type of technology, yeah, you tap into that technology to utilize it to help communicate, but you don't make the technology an end in and of itself. Like you were talking
Mm.
earlier when we first started, you were talking about AI, right?
Yep.
And I think one of the biggest mistakes people are making with AI, as they do with any new technology, is thinking that the technology is going to replace
Yeah. Yeah.
the people, the work, the relationship, and all the.
Mm.
It's going to help extend it. It's going to help solidify it. It's going to, right? But you use the technology for the ultimate end. You don't confuse the technology with being the end.
Or we could go down a rabbit hole here. I know this. I've had many, many conversations, and ironically, I had a similar conversation to that
But
yesterday.
you know what's interesting?
Yep.
When social media started to become a thing,
Yep.
I was often asked, because again, this was kind of before the Go Giver came out. So endless referrals, business networking, that was kind of my thing and what I was
Mm.
known for, and which is, really about relationship building. And I kept getting questions from people. Oh, do you think that, with technology, or, with, online platforms, social media, that you can still create relationships with people? And I said, well, what's interesting? Back when I started in sales in the 80s, I used to prospect, uh, build relationships, close sales through this technology we used to use. It was called the telephone.
Oh wow. Oh
Right.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the technology is just a medium.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so could you build it through, with the help of online? Of course, absolutely. But it's never about people doing business with and referring business to those computers they know, like, and
Yeah.
trust.
Yeah.
It's the people they know, like, and trust. You simply utilize whatever technology it is to help formulate that relationship.
So I would always go on people like people and brands they like, trust, and they can connect with. So
Mm.
connection is one of those ultimate things that AI cannot do. And I changed the acronym from AI to authentic integrity.
Mm.
So
Love that.
we have to get past it's an enabler. It's a time management tool which can help us in
Sure.
certain tasks and attributes. Someone yesterday was reaching out via LinkedIn saying that they have a sales process AI automation tool, which number one I don't really like because it's taken snippets of my profile but not really doing it in any sort of justice at all because it's so automatedly AI that I couldn't really connect with by how it was speaking to me. So completely dismissed it. And this lady, God love her, and she kept carrying on, and she was quite persistent with it. But some parts of it is we do need that personal connection with someone. We do need to build that relationship, that human interaction. So when we start to think about the balance between the two, we had this new world that's flickering in the background and the traditional side of things. Where do you see it now in terms of um, building relationships and how we can sit and complement each other with this integrated technology that's been extremely apparent now?
Yeah, well, I think one of the words you just said is so key, and that is complement each other. It's not an either or, it's an and. It's just,
Yeah.
where's your focus? And the focus is on the human, the relationship. We always talk about B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer. Well, it's really H to H. It's human
Yep.
to human. So we ask, with that in mind and with that the focus, now we ask, how do we use this technology? How do we utilize this AI to
Mm.
make the connection easier to have happen? I mean, you've seen, I'm sure, as we all have, and everyone listening has seen, that you can get caught up in an AI thing that is definitely for the better, not it's not the betterment, but the convenience of the company, not
Yep.
for us.
Yeah.
This causes so much friction that you just get right. And so, yeah, if I think it's always you've got to say, okay, and you've got to get with your team members and say, okay, this is what we're using. Okay, does this add to or detract from the relationship? How is it going to how is it likely to make this person feel when they go through it? When they write to us and then they get an obviously AI response, is that going to make them feel like we care
Yeah.
or like we really don't care? Right?
Yeah.
So
It's
again,
that.
anyway, dismissing AI,
Yeah.
you've got to be very careful when you use it. Make sure to use it in a way that is going to help build and solidify that relationship.
Because a lot of it, when I do, if I'm doing an outreach to a client that I want to engage with, I will make sure I do my due diligence behind that. Make sure I can understand some of the pain points that
Oh,
they're feeling or they're going through. I won't know it all until I actually have a conversation with them. But part of that is looking at maybe their LinkedIn profile, maybe having a look at the industry, maybe having a look at their website and what they're posting on and other things like that. So I
yeah,
can gauge to a certain degree
sure.
some things that might be implementing them. But that's how I would frame the conversation too. So I can get, because we know that everything is a feeling. And the way our brains are wired and fired together, we have to get into the limbic system, which is where our main beliefs, values, and emotions are based, and the other parts of the brain. So we have to get into that. So suggestions from yourself, what from your experience?
Well, I think AI can be very, very helpful when doing the initial discovery. Again, talking to the person in person is what's going to help you really
Yeah,
understand their unique and individual needs, wants, desires, problems, challenges, and so forth. But AI can help you do a lot of that pre-research. This is, you and I have a mutual friend who we both admire, Art Subcheck,
yes.
and he's a when it comes to phone skills, and so this guy is just
Oh, it's a genius. Yeah, very good.
and he has kind of changed the game and changed the language from cold calling to smart calling. Okay, and in terms of smart calling, that's when you are already as prepared as you can possibly be to be able to serve that person, right?
Yeah,
Get go. And AI can absolutely help with that. um but again, it's that same thing. Use that for however you can, make it easier, but don't think that it's everything. It's like I remember in school when we used to have those, what they call cliff notes. When if you're going to cheat, you could read this, like the cliff notes of this big book, right, that you were assigned, and then
or
you take,
you write it down your arm.
right, and yet, right, well, you might get a C, but you're not going to know as much as you need to get an A. Right? And so, because it can't tell you everything, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and so that's how I look at it. I mean, I look at AI as a very positive thing when it's used right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a negative thing when it's used wrong.
I'm curious, and when I read your book, I really liked the title. Obviously, the title gave away, but it took me through where that bit of inspiration from giving and then receiving, and we probably could go into uh, different aspects of this, but where did it actually come from in terms of the original thought process behind the Go Giver? Because I really love it.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's really that John and I, in all our, and John was a great entrepreneur before he was a writer. And, in all our experiences individually as entrepreneurs, and then again, getting to in his case, interview these great entrepreneurs, leaders. I get to speak with these people and get to talk with them and learn from. And we're both avid readers, so always studying biographies of successful people and so forth. When we got together, we said, okay, what are basically, if we were going to just take 5 things,
Yeah.
what is it that successful people have, and sustainably successful people, not fly by night, not one hit
One
wonder.
hit wonders.
Yeah. But real sustainably successful people, financially, but also, mentally, emotionally, relationally, all these things. Okay.
Like the Bransons of the world.
Huh?
The Richard Bransons of the world.
Yeah. And so, what is it that they all basically did? Not always consciously.
Yeah.
But they did it. A lot of times for the people, it's intuitive. All right. But what is it, since there have been market economies, right, where people weren't forced to buy from one another, but did so out of choice? Well, basically they all had basically they all had a focus on providing value to others.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it wasn't self-sacrificial. Okay. It was basically in such a way that everyone advanced.
Yeah.
They had a way of understanding that when you create more, and Wallace D. Wattles, in his classic 1910 book, The Science of Getting Rich, one of the best books ever, he talked about, when you give what he called more life to all.
Yeah.
When your focus is on making the lives of others better, okay, it builds everyone in the process. And in a market-based society, let's put it this way. When I was on the road speaking, I'm no longer on the road speaking at almost 68. I'm now just doing virtual keynotes, but I don't travel anymore. But when I was on the road speaking, I used to start out a lot of my talks in front of like these big groups of sales professionals. Okay. And I'd begin by saying, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Right?
I completely concur with that. Yeah.
Exactly. They couldn't care less about it. Right? They're not going to buy from you because you have a sales goal, or because you need the money, or even because you're a really nice person, even though you're a really nice person.
Yeah. It's all about me, myself, and I.
Right. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they will benefit more by doing so than by not doing so.
Yeah, love it.
Now, that, of course, is good news for that sales professional or entrepreneur who really has a heart for service. Okay. But what it really says, though, is, the most self-interested thing you can do is place your self-interest to the side and focus totally on that person's needs, wants, and desires. If you can help them solve their problems, if you can move them closer to happiness, your needs are going to be well taken care of. They will willingly exchange their money for that, right? So really, when we talk about the go-giver, John and I we're talking about just focusing on providing exceptional value to the lives of others.
Yeah. That's something that I was taught as a young student in the sales area. I had a mentor. Luckily, I was given a mentor, and he was always alluded to, said, "What are those things on your head?" I was going, "Eyes." No, I went, "Well, you got ears."
Right.
So you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you use it.
Yeah.
And go, well, you're absolutely right. So then I converted it into the Pareto principle. So you talk 20% of the time and you listen 80% of the time. But when you do talk, you get other people to talk more than you by asking some really smart questions about them. And the more importantly, it is all about them. So I've got about 10 questions in my head and they're all trying to come out at the same time. So when we start to think about that and to give more than we get, and obviously empathetic communication, really understanding them, but you also alluded to in your book is to obviously give more value than them, but you also give other stuff away. I know Robert Cialdini would say reciprocation is one of the big things that you have to give in order to get back. You give away value, you give away bits of time, you give away something else, but in order for that, you get it back in some shape or form. What was your take on that? I just, if you can remind us from that.
Well, so he talks about the law of reciprocity.
Yep.
And by the way, his book, Influence: The Psychology of Persuasion, is a magnificent book.
Hmm.
Really, and I know you're a huge student of human nature, and so am I, and why we do things. And so his book to me is a must read. In fact, he updated it, revised it in 2000, I think 2018.
Yeah, you got another thing on there called Unity as well. But you took some of that emphasis and you branched it out in your own way as well, which I was absolutely fascinated by when I read your book.
Oh, thank you. And so with reciprocity, it's that human desire to give to others who have given to us. Okay. And when used ethically, as he talks about in his book, that's fine. We talk about law number 5 being receptivity.
Yeah.
A little different. Receptivity is simply the ability to receive that which someone wants to give you. Okay. And it might be payment for a service. It might be kindness. It might be, whatever it is. So I think what it is what John and I say is this: when you focus on providing value to others without attachment to the results, okay? Yeah, I mean, you expect good things are going to happen, of course. But when you focus on providing value to the marketplace, okay, without attachment to the results, what happens is you create what we call the benevolent context for success. But then you've got to be able to tap into that. You've got to be able to be receptive. And we describe it in the book through Pindar, the mentor, who explained to Joe, you breathe out. Well, you've also got to breathe in.
Yeah.
Not one or the other, right? You've got to do both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving. You breathe in, which is receiving. And understanding that giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. They're simply two sides of the very same coin. The key is to focus on the giving of value, right? And then allow yourself to receive.
Awesome. Question that I always like to ask. So prepare yourself, big drum roll here. So if we were interviewing you, what sort of question would you ask yourself?
What would I ask myself about the Go-Giver itself?
Just in general, a question that you've never been asked. That's a question that you've go, why hasn't someone asked me this before?
That's a good question itself. And I'm not sure what no one has ever asked me before. I'd say they probably figure that I'm very outgoing and extroverted when I'm actually not. I'm actually very introverted, maybe an ambivert, because I can turn, but I certainly don't derive energy from being in a crowd. I'm very much a, personal and really a homebody, and would rather not be in a crowd. I'd rather be by myself and my cat and read a book. But I think people think that because I'm very outgoing and friendly to people, but that's not the same as being an extrovert and wanting to be and deriving energy from being around a lot of people. So I'd say
let's frame that question then,
okay.
Because based on that, because I'm pretty similar. What's the balance between being an introvert, extrovert, or extrovert, introvert, whatever? What are the attributes to make someone really successful, regardless of either introvert, extrovert? What is the balance between the two if you're going out and wanting to be successful in the world of sales or entrepreneurship or whatever it might be?
Okay, I think that's a great question. And my answer would be this. I'd say the balance of extrovert, introvert doesn't matter, because the key is, are you focused on that other person during the conversation?
Oh, I love that answer. Yes. Brilliant. And I think we have concluded. I could actually talk to you all day.
Well, you're a great interviewer. That's why you're such a great salesperson and leader, because you can ask questions that really bring out people's best. So thank you.
I've enjoyed every moment. I did do a little ticker for all the Audible listeners out there. There's the Go Giver Influencers, the Go Giver Expanded Edition, the Go Giver Sell More, the Go Giver Leader, the Go Giver Marriage, a teacher's guide to the Go Giver, endless referrals, adversaries into allies, the success formula booklet.
Now, John and Anna, the Go Giver Marriage was actually John's and Anna's. They did a fantastic job with that.
Fantastic. I looked at, on your website and went, oh, there's loads on here. I might have to divulge a few more of the books that I read over my time. So I would be delighted to read some more. So how can people find out more about you, Bob?
Probably the best way is just to go to burg.com, and pretty much everything's there.
I got this, thegogiver.com, and I know it links into 2 other websites as well when I did my research. Look,
that's the book website, and people are certainly welcome to go there if they want to learn more about some of the other things I do and some of the other resources. Probably burg.com is the best that way, but either one's fine.
Awesome. Yeah, well, if people want to find it, they will find you. Really appreciate the conversation today, Bob. It's been a blast. And you gave a lot of golden nuggets of knowledge, inspiration. And the way I like to look at it is to feed it forward to the next generation coming up. And if I would say, if you can learn one thing out of podcasts like this, I think it's a golden gem that can impact their organization and help them learn and grow, but be that authentic person inside of you. So you've listened to the Global Sales Leader podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cooper. Each time I speak to people that I handpick, that I have an engaging conversation, that I have a passion for in this area. So this is the Global Sales Leader podcast. Thank you once again, Bob. You're awesome.
Thank you.